So we are here today. Thaddeus is poking you to see if you're paying attention. We're here to talk about polarity and to talk about relationships. And we've been thinking about the conversation of the masculine and feminine energy, how it's kind of working today, and all of the different conversation and languages and terminology around gender and all that stuff. So the first thing we want to say is what we're talking right now is about masculine energy, feminine energy, source energy, sexual energy, whatever. It's all energy. And for the purposes of this conversation, we'll be using the words masculine and feminine a lot, but take this however you need to hear it to benefit your way of being, how you feel and express. It's not meant to do any harm to anybody at all. This is just so we can better understand each other, how we identify ourselves, and how to relate better with other people. So that's my kind of disclaimer here. We really want to have these conversations in a conscious way, in a productive way, in a loving way, so we can bring these conversations out in a way that really nurtures and helps people embody who they are and become more powerful, no matter what that looks like. So here we are. We've been talking about the David Data book, The Way of the Superior Man, which we both have a copy of, and just kind of came up this morning like, hey, let's talk about this. I'm like, okay, yeah, I love this book. And some people absolutely hate this book. So forgive us if you hate this book. You might not want to watch this. But for me, this book has really helped me understand the magnetics and polarity and what masculine energy is, what feminine energy is. So when Thaddeus said, hey, have you read this book? I was like, yeah, and it's really completely helped me. So I think the first thing we were going to talk about is the polarity identity and how we each feel maybe polarized very masculine, polarized very feminine, or balance, or a flow between the two. I'm going to give you a second to talk. It's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn?
It's your turn. So right. Yeah, in that polarity identity.
So I'll just start by reading what he had to say about, and this is me reading it as a man that's attracted to women. So I know we have to talk about masculine, feminine, and take it how you want it. But this is just from my perspective. It resonates with me. So he says, the masculine men are attracted to forms of feminine energy, radiant women, beer, music, nature, etc. If a man tries to hide his attraction, it reveals some degree of shame with respect to his own sexual core. And for me, what resonates about this is when you're in that masculine energy, suppressing it isn't helping. It's actually making it worse. And that's really what it's getting down to, is if you're in that masculine energy, you have to stay in it in order for that feminine energy to shine, and vice versa. For the feminine energy to shine, she has to have that. They have to have that masculine energy there. Otherwise, it's like you said earlier, like a magnet without a partner.
Yeah.
What am I doing here? What's my purpose?
Right. So as far as, when you are a man in your masculine energy, or a person in your masculine energy, and again, like, we're not going to over explain and try and accommodate every possibility here. So just understand that we're coming from a place of polarity. And when you have your own experience with yourself, and you are in a masculine energy space or a feminine energy space, it may not be as relevant to when you're relating. So a lot of this, the whole point of this book is about relating to another person. So what you're just talking about with when you're feeling that masculine energy and you're attracted to and appreciating the feminine energy, it feeds you. It feeds
Yeah.
the masculine energy. It brings you into a space of wanting to take care of and serve and protect that and nourish it and give it a space to be. Like, is that how you feel, what you experience?
Yeah, those were a lot of words to just say that I get light up. It's like
There you go.
that's really what it comes down to. It's like, is this turning me on or turning me off? And like when I see a beautiful woman walking down the street and my eyes continue to follow, it's like turn on. And then if I have a partner that's like, what are you looking at? It's like turn off. And then when we go home and she's like, how come you're not being affectionate or more loving? And it's like, well, you put the turn off button on during the turn on time. Like it's you like we were talking earlier. This isn't a filter. It's either on or off. And if you keep turning it off, like now I have to make a decision. Is this where I want to be at in this continual chains of turned off, or do I want to be turned on? What's lighting me up in life, and move into that. And for me, a lot of times that's diving into the masculine energy.
I love how, like, you're exactly illustrating the entire point of this. For men, it's really, when men say, like, we're really simple creatures, like they, that masculine energy that he's embodying and sharing, yes or no, on or off. While women, it is that sliding scale. There's a dimmer switch on us. Like, but it's like, oh, that, like a super attractive person walks by, like, oh, and like, boop, 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 it goes up a little bit. And then like, something, grouchy happens, like, boop, boop, boop. So like to get a woman that on switch takes so much more. And I'm saying a woman, again, the feminine energy takes so much more to get to that space. So and it's a lot, it's not on or off. It's like, well, I've explained this, in the past as the burner on the stove. Like you could come home from a long day of doing everything and flip your switch on and be like, all right, I'm ready, let's go. Right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
masculine energy on off. But feminine energy is like, I need to be like preheated and then simmering and then like keep working on that all day. So by the time it's time to have like a sexual connection, then I'm maybe at like medium high, and it doesn't take a whole lot to get me turned on. Like I'm already kind of there. But if the whole day I'm like, this is from my personal experience, if I'm doing like a lot of masculine linear work and I'm thinking and I'm creating, and I haven't allowed myself to be in that feminine flow space, at the end of the day I'm like, I'm in a zero. Like my oven's off. Like that's not even on the table. And then I'm like, all right, now it's gonna take me like an hour to relax and then breathe and then, have a cup of tea or whatever, and it takes so much longer. So the whole conversation is about this. The on off is masculine energy. The flow is feminine energy. Wherever you want to play with that is completely up to you. So we're talking about like how to identify in yourself whether you live in a more masculine, feminine, or balanced energy, and where that comes from. So we were talking a bit about modeling and how we've seen that. So why don't you talk a little bit about, kind of how we get that? Where do we get our examples from?
Generally in childhood, we get our examples, and some of us are blessed to have healthy examples growing up, and then others of us have unhealthy examples. And then when we grow up, it's like you've been conditioned for so long with this example that you think it's normal, until one day you recognize, oh, this isn't working. Especially in this arena with conscious events, it takes a certain amount of unconsciousness at first to wake up to the consciousness. And then when you wake up, it's like, oh, okay, where do I go to find anything really? Like you're looking for a new way of being, and you have to go somewhere. And then then it's like you're looking at different people and almost like, okay, yeah, I like this resonates, or no, this doesn't, or maybe a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Uh,
Kind of how you
and
want to feel. And
yeah,
yeah, I've experienced that myself without really knowing what I wanted, to look for couples in my life that were modeling that as an adult. Like after I'd already, gone through a lot of experiences, to stop and say, hang on a minute, what do I want? I know what I don't want, but what do I want? And to look for people like friends and people in my life that had relationships, and pick out like all the positive things from each one. I'm like, I want all of those things in my relationship. And that would work for me. And that's what I want. And that's what I'm going to wait for and create space for, and then be the person who can be in that relationship. So there's a lot of personal work with this too. And I think that we've been talking about, physically, physiologically, we've got physical differences between us. And, as far as socially, like, men need other men to relate to, and to work to feel that, to validate, to model, and to understand like what being an embodied man is about. And that's a lot of this book is about, finding your purpose and finding your energy and embodying that. So, we were talking about how men are physiologically naturally stronger than women. But this also comes into an energetic embodiment. So a masculine man may be physically stronger, but he's also got a different emotional presence and strength that creates a feeling of safety. And I'd like for you to talk about safety and how you feel, as a man. Like, how safe do you feel in your life on a daily basis? Do you feel safe just as you in this world?
uh, yes, I do feel safe. I will say that it helped having women in my life to realize how safe I felt. So like, I remember when I moved into my first apartment, I just looked for the cheapest thing available. Didn't care that the liquor store was right across the street, and it might have been a kind of shady part of town. It was like, I'm good. If somebody comes in, I can handle it. And then when I met Katie, and she's like, oh, this is kind of a scary neighborhood. I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Everybody here is friendly. And she's like, well, there's a liquor store there, and you see those guys hanging out in front. And it was just a general awareness of things, or even like going to the gas station at 9 o'clock at night. It's pitch dark. I'm stopping by myself, filling up the tank. My daughters, on the other hand, it's like, you need to fill up during the day when it's light, people can see you. And if there's a stranger coming up, you need to be aware. I mean, as a man, you still have to have situational awareness, but as a woman, sometimes that situational awareness requires you to leave the situation. Like, oh, there's 3 cars here. This guy just seems to be hanging out with his dog. Maybe I'll go to the next gas station. Whereas a man it's like, okay, almost like sizing them up. Like, can I take them? Probably, and I can get gas. So, in regards to the safety, I feel like that's kind of like what you're getting at, that physical safety. And to clarify, I'm 6'3", like 250. So I'm just bigger than most people.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at on a couple of levels, because you don't have to think about that, and you embody that energy in a way that, like, you show up. So this is another thing about embodying energy and presence and power. When you are an embodied person and you're strong, people are typically not going to mess with you anyway. But in that physiological and polarity sense, women in general, there's a beautiful Allison Armstrong. I've studied her work years ago, and it's amazing. She does this talk about this exact thing, like, men feel safe, women don't feel safe. And she asked the audience, like, when was the last time you didn't feel safe? And most of the women were like, today. It's just part of the natural awareness that men are typically not afraid and don't live in that fear of and lack of safety. So identifying those physiological differences, like I'm like 5'8", you know, I'm not a little woman, and I've never had that fear for my safety the way some of my friends who have been you know, have been assaulted, you know, it happens. So
Right.
I've never had that, but there's still a piece of me you know, there's still a piece of me that is on that hypervigilant safety thing just as a woman. And it's an interesting thing. So we were kind of talking about like the physiological differences and the energetic differences to empower a man to be a man, like ask him to do the stuff that he can do easily, and let him be that strong presence for you, you know. And I know that for me, when I meet a man who's not masculine embodied and is very gentle and soft, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if you've got me. Like, I don't know if I feel like you would protect me, or, you know, like if I
Right.
was at the gas station with you, and I would probably be like, oh, it's fine, he's got me. But there's some people, because I already I sense that in you. I feel it. Like you've got that presence, you're not worried. And I would be like, yeah, you know, if something happened, he would be in the middle of it immediately. And that's a feeling that women understand as a safety piece. And again, this comes back to like, this is not about being sexist or anything. This is just about the reality of our physiological selves. But if I'm with a man who's very feminine and small and just doesn't have that, you know, and there's short men who are very strong and tall men who are very weak. So it's not just physical thing, it's a presence. So back to this, the David Data thing, like this is all about embodying the masculine energy and the masculine strength in a very simple, powerful way. So you can attract and be magnetic with the feminine energy and dance together. Basically.
Yes. Yeah. Dance together. I like that term. In Argentine tango, they actually talk about, or one of my dance teachers was sharing how you can either dance at someone, dance with someone, or dance together where you're listening to each other, which is what the Argentine tango is all about, is listening to each other so that you're just moving
Right.
together versus, you know, like the steps where it's like, okay, we're doing 1, 2, 3 to the beat, 1, 2, 3. Everybody knows where you're just dancing at each other. Nobody's actually listening. It's just that. But with the Argentine tango, it's like, okay, you have to listen to the body, and that's where that polarity comes, because when you listen as a masculine energy, when you're listening to that feminine energy and just feeling the space move, it's it's magic. Again, that's simple. It's almost like men are lighters. It's like it's lit up, like that's what we're looking for. But like you said, like the woman, the feminine energy, you have to
surrender. That has been the hugest thing for me, is you have to surrender. You have to let the masculine energy dance you. I think that's just a really beautiful way to say it, because that is it. If you had two masculine men trying to dance with each other, they're just going to be like, they're like two magnets. They're not going to be able to connect and flow together. They're just going to go, and they're not going to be able to do it. So that's the whole point of all this conversation, is that we have to understand where we sit in our own polarity, where we sit in our own physical presence and embodiment, how we show up, how we engage with other people, so we can be better and more productive when we're interacting with other people.
Yes.
It's kind of important.
Yeah. So that's a good example. Like right now, like you're taking the lead in the masculine in this. It was like before we started, you're like, so do you want to start or do you want me to start? And it was like, oh no, I'll be in the feminine energy and allow you to lead this and own it. Like embracing that. So I was embracing my feminine energy there. It's just like, yes, you can guide us and lead us through the talk today.
Right. And we're not talking over each other. We're not interrupting each other, because we made that agreement. So, you know, we're still figuring out, for everybody watching, we're still figuring out what we're doing here, but our intention is to create these conversations and bring more light to just where we are in our evolution spiritually and everything, and help people watching this and in our community just to have more understanding and more connection and more flow with each other, and to find the people that resonate with you and that work well for you. So, you know, when Thaddeus stepped up to be a co-admin, I was like, oh, wonderful, thank you. You know, have someone to do this with. And you know, like he said, I asked him, like, do you want to lead? Do you want me to lead? Because in these conversations, you can either have like neither one's person's leading, and then you're like, you know, or you're talking over each other if both people are really trying to lead the conversation. So we initially agreed on that, and that's why this is working. So this is a cool example of what we're talking about. And I made some notes because we could talk for hours. So we're gonna keep moving on this. I'm gonna keep in this masculine linear thing we're doing because I wrote notes. So we're talking, and you had mentioned earlier, like if you're with your partner and you see somebody else and you're like, wow, what a beautiful woman. How many relationships and how many people let that destroy their connection and their energy, and like just flips the switch off. When you tell your partner, don't be attracted to that woman, you're literally telling him, turn off your masculine energy.
Yeah, yeah. So like it's almost like with the lighter analogy I use, they're literally pouring water into the lighter.
Yeah.
Wondering it, well, it looks full, but it's full of water instead of oil. So now when you're trying to get that spark, it's like, yeah, there's nothing here.
Yeah, nothing. You doused it.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really challenging for a lot of people because of their own, it's really comes from a place of insecurity, I think, in yourself, when you don't let someone else be who they are. And that's kind of a big topic, and it's probably not a good place to go right now, but if you understand that your partner's appreciation and attraction to other people is part of their design and their nature, let them do that. And I mean, obviously, if they're chasing other people and cheating on you and doing things you didn't agree on, that's different. But for when I see a man appreciate a woman, I know that he's alive and he's vital and he's healthy. And I see that as normal, and that's how the masculine energy is designed to work. That's how I see
Yeah.
it.
Yes, I agree. And it's I mean, it goes back to that feeding, like you're feeding off of the energy. And it also goes back to what you were talking about, how like there's this concern or fear of the cheating. And it's like the man or woman that's going to cheat, you telling them not to is not going to stop it. Like it's just an inevitable thing. And I also think that sometimes we have to really get down and think about it. And this is probably another topic, but like if you're in a relationship with someone and your boundary is if they cheat, I'm leaving. Like, is that really a relationship you want to be in the first place, where that's the cutoff? Like, oh, you did something I didn't know about, and now we're done.
Right. Yeah, that can be a very big conversation. And the evolved relationships, the deeper conversations, the boundaries and agreements between people in relationships. And I mean, you can't cheat on someone unless you have an agreement not to, right? Like, so if I'm in a relationship and we say we are monogamous, we are not physically doing anything with anybody else, we are not emotionally doing anything with anybody else, and I've made that agreement, that doesn't allow me to have an emotional conversation with a friend of mine. So to me, like, that's emotionally cheating if you've made that strong of an agreement with your partner. And this is a huge gray area that can go on for forever. So when
50
you
Shades of Grey.
like just the conversation that I have with someone that I've known for a really long time, it may be a very intimate conversation. I'm talking about very, very intimate things. Take sexuality out of the intimacy thing, guys. Like, seriously, we over focus on the sexual aspect of it, but being intimate, sharing your heart, sharing how you feel with someone can be very connecting. And if you have someone in your life that you can do that with, and it's not your partner, but your partner doesn't know about it, that's where the problem is in the communication. And I mean, we all need different people for different things. And that's how I feel, what I've experienced. And I have amazing people in my life for lots of different reasons. So I'm in a married partnership. Like we have our boundaries and our agreements, but we have an agreement that we love other people and we both have long relationships with other people. And again, this is not about sexual relationships. This is just if my husband has a friend and she needs to talk, I'm like, go hold space for her, go be there for her. Absolutely. He's not cheating on me. To me, I'm like, like I'm not in the mindset of that being a bad thing, because I know what I have with him and we know what we have together, that if I try to stifle him from being who he is as a loving and caring friend to a woman, like that's my own problem. Like that's going to create problems for both of us. And it's the same way with me. Like if I've got a friend and I'm spending time with a friend, there's never like a question of like, am I doing something that's harming our relationship? Because we already had those conversations. We already know what that is.
And it goes back to that polarity part about feeding your soul, what turns you on. It's like you're literally, well, not you, but if like you're like, no, you can't go to this friend because she's a woman, you're literally turning him off to that emotional connection that he has with you as well. Because it's again, it's not one of those things where you can just filter it like, oh, you can be emotionally connected to this person, this person, this person, but this person, no. And it's like, well, what's the no for? Because you might have sex with him. Well, it's like that's not how cheating works. Cheating means that we've made an agreement and I'm not gonna abide by it. Like, and that's the problem, and that's the problem. No matter what it is, it could be financial cheating, emotional cheating, friendship cheating, or even just a cheating of you said you're going here and you went somewhere else. Like the agreements that are made have been broken is the real part of it. But that's another day for the polarity, right?
Absolutely. You think about like if I'm sending my husband to go hold space for a woman who needs a man's energy right now, like that's a wonderful, beautiful thing to me. Like go, she needs you to just hold her and listen to her while she expresses herself. Go do that for her. To me, it's a gift that he can do that for her. So and it's the same way, like I've done that for men in my life, and it's I've done that even in this current relationship. Like I need to go be with this person, they need this from me, like I have something for them they need, or they need to talk, they need my input, whatever. And it's never like, oh well, what are you going to be doing? It's just the insecurity is not there, it's just not part of our relationship. And it's what gives us both the ability to be free in who we are. And we read this book, actually listened to The Way of the Superior Man last year in an audiobook. We listened to it together. We talked about our past. We talked about what it brought up. And it's incredibly powerful. Like there's a piece in here, we're talking about the attraction, the polarity, but there's pieces in here like it's I don't even have words sometimes. This book, I love this the whole thing, like all the different topics in it are just acknowledging the power and the gifts that both the masculine and the feminine have, and how we're supposed to share those with each other. Came up with a sentence. I'm in trouble there. I'm like, it's so much to me. And so many people are triggered by this book because it's very polarizing, and they're like, oh, this is very sexist, and this is like telling women to, and I'm like, no, it's not shutting anybody down. It's empowering. And, again, whatever energy and polarity you have and you identify as and you live as is all good. That's all perfect. It's what you do with it. And you can have a same gender couple playing out opposite polarity roles, and it's like you have this dance. So, you know, I think our whole message about this is find the way to dance with the people in your life that works, and, you know, find the energy to be in and to express that works for you, and really embody that and be powerful in that. I mean, I have some very powerful friends in my life that are men who are very feminine, and that's who they are, and they're embodied and they're powerful in that, and that's who they are and how they live. So there's no wrong way to do this. I think
There's no wrong way to dance.
there's no wrong way to dance other than not dancing.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And if you want to dance alone, you know, that's cool too. I love dancing. So I'll dance on the dance floor all by myself. I don't care.
Oh yeah, I dance alone all the time.
Yeah. So I think we've gotten to about a half an hour today of this. We could go on all day. We're going to share this in this group, and then from now on, we're going to post events with topics and kind of try and make this a little more of an interactive thing, maybe some Q&A. So thank you for watching our video. Do you have any thoughts?
I just enjoy the dance.
Enjoy the dance, and as always, find the cookies.
That's right. Enjoy the cookies.
That's our
All the
theme,
cookies.
right? We always find the cookies in your life, whatever they are.
Bye.